Welcome back. Today I'm going to show you how I foliar feed. The when, the how, and why it's so awesome. Foliar feeding is when you water the leaves instead of watering the roots of a plant. Now, you may inadvertently water the roots as well, which is awesome. So, why would you want to water the leaves instead of the roots? Well, believe it or not, leaves are very good at absorbing nutrition, and sometimes it's faster than roots. And there are also other reasons, like if the pH of your soil is not all that good, your plant may not be able to absorb nutrition from the soil. So if you foliar feed, the nutrition will get into the plant and it will respond really quickly. I like to foliar feed in the evening because plants, overnight, the dew accumulates on the leaves and they absorb that water. And it's a nice cool time. They do most of their growing overnight and they will really respond. If you do it in the morning, it tends to dry up really quickly and you don't get near the benefits. Do it in the morning if you think that it's not going to dry up quickly. Like if you have a lot of dew in the morning, it's a cool day, it's a little overcast, that's awesome. Go ahead and do it then. But there are better times and I think the night is the best. I seem to have the best results with it. There are many different things you can use to foliar feed. MiracleGro works on the foliar feeding thing, as do other, like DynaGro. Cannabis growers know all about foliar feeding. They're very serious about their foliar feeding and getting as much nutrition as possible. A lot of micronutrients are not easily pulled up from the soil. They can absorb through the leaves easier than coming up through the roots. So if you want to get a ton of nutrition into your plants, you kind of go for a mix. And I am not totally against synthetic fertilizing. I've talked a lot with Steve Solomon, and he loves the DynaGro stuff. And the reason is because a lot of these things are manufactured in laboratories, but they're elements, like they're pure elements. So if you were gonna go and get some manure, right, and you say, well, that's organic, that's natural, there may be herbicides in it, there may be hormones in it, there may be dewormers in it. There's all kinds of stuff that may be in it. Plus, who knows what those cows or goats or whatever else ate. They were putting arsenic in chicken feed as an example. And there's a lot of junk that goes into cow feed. There can be GMOs and all that sort of thing. So you might be trying to get your nitrogen and all that by doing it the organic way. And the guy that is foliar feeding is actually putting a lot less toxins in his garden when he's using chemical fertilizers. So because it's in a laboratory, because they're isolating and using specific minerals, that there are purity tests and all that sort of thing going on. So you might actually be in a better shape using that sort of a thing. Now, where I am, it's kind of a moot point because those sort of fertilizers are expensive here and not common, so I use my own foliar feeders. One excellent foliar feeding thing you can do is to make compost tea. Now, I make anaerobic compost tea where I have those big, horrible buckets, or, like big barrels filled with all kinds of slop.
Does that make me crazy?
I'm careful with those because there can be alcohols and things like that that are formed in the process. So I thin them out like 8 parts water to 1 part stinking fetid swamp water, and I water with those and the plants love it. But I also soak the ground. I want it to go into the roots, I want it to go onto the leaves, and that it works wonderfully. Another thing you could do is make manure teas. Now in my fetid swamp water, I do that as well. I add manure when I have it and just throw it in there and stir it up, and when you could light a match and explosions come off the top of it, I figure it's done. But there's a lot of fertility in that, and when you water the plants with it, they respond very quickly and strongly to it. You can also make aerobic compost tea if you're worried about all that nonsense and it's scary to you. And aerobic compost tea, you do with a bubbler. You might do it over 24 hours or something like that. Take some compost, put it in a net bag, and feed it up with a little molasses and keep that water moving around, and you have a bunch of aerobic bacteria that are forming, and the combination of the bacteria and the nutrition that they release are good for your plants. But they're not really strong foliar feeds. One of the most amazing foliar feeds is when you take Epsom salts and you mix some Epsom salts into water. I'll put like a cup in a 5-gallon bucket, stir it around, and then foliar feed with it, and everything goes green like crazy. The plants love that magnesium and they love the sulfur in it. Both of those things are really good for the plants. Or you can use an abundant and free foliar feed, urine. Because a lot of the stuff that goes through our system, we pass through, we are not super efficient at absorbing all the nutrition that comes into our bodies. So you eat a steak, you eat some kale, you eat some shellfish or whatever else, there's a lot of nutrition that passes through, and after it goes through the kidneys, it's been filtered and your body gets rid of the stuff that it doesn't need. And the plants totally love it. I did a previous video on comparing MiracleGro and urine, and I found that it had almost the exact same effect. I noticed very little difference in plant growth. What I'm doing here today is I'm going to use some urine and I'm going to mix it with water at about 1 part urine to 6 parts water, and then water these plants because it's coming on evening and they're going to stay moist overnight, and hopefully they'll green up. And I've done this to the gardens quite a bit, which is why they look so happy. But it's been quite dry lately, and a little bit of foliar feeding in dry weather really seems to give the plants more strength to deal with not having enough water. This is not tied. It does not whiten. Though actually the Romans did use urine to clean, believe it or not. Now it's aerobic. Thanks for watching. You can sign up for my newsletter and get my booklet on stretching and growing your compost, where I talk about how I make the anaerobic compost tea and how I get as much square miles out of my compost as is humanly possible. And you can also check out my book, Compost Everything, and I'll put links in the description. Thanks for watching, and until next time, may your thumbs always be green.
I went to see David the Good. We listened to Portishead and drank spiced rum. He threw me off the ramp and broke my foot.
Foliar feeding, yeah. If you want the good stuff to soak in fast, foliar feed those plants and give them a blast. The good stuff they can absorb through the stomas if they just ain't growing and have dropped into